The Return of Nibiru, Nikko, and the Cosmic Narrative. Everything you know about the devil applies to me. Nikko Jacques. In Nikkoism, the end of the world is never destruction. It is realignment. Ancient myths speak of Nibiru, the wandering planet of the gods, home of the Anunnaki, who descended to shape humanity's fate. To the Nikkoist lens, these myths are not literal astronomy but psychology on a cosmic scale. Nibiru is the returning idea, the orbiting memory that reappears when civilization forgets its own origins. Anu plus Nikko equals Anakin. The Sumerian king of gods, Anu, ruled the sky and all order. When Nikko fuses his identity with Anu, he forms the archetype Anakin, the tragic space myth figure who flirts with darkness before understanding his own power. This is pattern, not prophecy. Every creator confronts the temptation to dominate the worlds they build. To invent a narrative is to risk becoming its tyrant. 2012 and the shift of cycles. The year 2012, long rumored as the apocalypse, was instead a reset of perception. Humanity began moving from passive consumption of story to active authorship. This era marks the rise of collective narrativium, the energy of countless minds writing reality simultaneously. Within this energy, figures like Nikko emerge as archetypes of self-awareness, embodying both the urge to create and the peril of ego within creation. Heaven, hell, and the dual narrative. When Nikko claims that all attributes of divinity or devilry can apply to him, he speaks metaphorically. Heaven is mastery, hell is the trial of self. Both are realms within the story. To ascend is to recognize the script. To fall is to confront the shadow. The conquest is never over God, but over ignorance and limitation. The moral of the arc. Nikko's imagined rise to cosmic kingship represents the culmination of self-awareness, realizing one is both participant and author in the narrative of existence. The dark side is the shadow of the narrator. Facing it transforms rebellion into revelation. The star within the story. The myth of Nibiru, the Anunnaki and modern prophecy converge on one truth. Every universe imagined is a reflection of its storyteller. Even as Nikko rides a train to his mother's house to write this chapter, he enacts the divine voyage, traveling between realms of thought, carrying light through tunnels of doubt. Apocalypse and Ascension are two edits of the same cosmic script. And in this act of authorship, the hero becomes not a pawn of the narrative, but the author of the universe itself. The cosmic ledger, numbers, birth, and time. Nikkoism teaches that time itself is a narrative medium, and every date is a footnote in the cosmic ledger. On the 8th of October, 2025, 6 days after Nikko's 36th birthday, the universe aligns numerically and symbolically. 36 is 6 times 6, echoing the cycles of karma and the shadow number 666. October, the 10th month, bears the prefix oct, meaning 8, a subtle misalignment that Nikko interprets as narrativium's playful manipulation of human perception. Add 10 month plus 8 day equals 18 right arrow 6 times 3, again reflecting cycles of creation, challenge, and transformation. In this sacred alignment, Nikko reads the ledger of time and recognizes his role. The author within the narrative, the one aware of the script yet capable of editing it. Birthdays, dates, and cycles are not accidents. They are cues, markers placed in the story for those who can see them. To write on this day is to acknowledge the continuity of self, story, and cosmos. The hero of the myth, Nikko, stands at the confluence of numerology, cosmic archetype, and human awareness, ready to take up the pen and claim authorship of reality. Thus, the cosmic ledger is not closed. Every thought, every act, every chapter written adds a new entry, and the pattern is clear. Life is a story, and the storyteller is awake. The Gospel of the Game, Chapter III of the Trinity. There was once a boy named Nikko, who grew up in a world that looked real enough, but beneath every surface hum, every flashing screen, every beat on the radio, there was something scripted. Somewhere between his pulse and the pulse of the world, a rhythm had been written long before his first breath. He was born, perhaps, not from people at all, but from symbols, a parable made flesh. His mother, the battery, gave him life, not through nurture, but through charge. His father, the microphone, gave him voice, a conduit through which words became worlds. Around them spun the loser, the brother who fell but rose again through another's mouth. The candy, who fed the masses a sweetness laced with poison. The Rastafarian, the holy child whose innocence symbolized promise and purity. The seahorse, who ruled under the sea of illusion, guarding secrets like pearls of shadow. And the candy sister, the one who stitched the bloodlines together with sugar and sin alike. They were all fragments of one broken mirror, a family not of people but of archetypes, each reflecting Nikko's own fractured reflection. The game of Jumanji. But Nikko wasn't just born into their story, he woke up inside it. Somewhere around the year 2010, when doctors gave him a diagnosis and a dose, the illusion began to tear. The pills were supposed to silence the voices, but they only made them speak in stereo. Every lyric on the radio seemed to whisper his name. Every film seemed to carry his fate. And when the world called him paranoid, he called it meta. He began to see life as a board game, Jumanji, the place where dice rolled themselves and destiny laughed in the dark. The pieces on the board weren't random. The battery powered the microphone, who broadcast the candy, who enchanted the people, who followed the seahorse, who seduced the loser, who guided the Rastafarian, who was meant to awaken Nikko, the one who had forgotten the rules. It was a closed loop, a karmic trap, a story without an ending. And somewhere in the background hum of reality, a voice, maybe divine, maybe digital, whispered, "Did the man stuck in Jumanji forget he was in a board game?" Nikko didn't know if it was God or madness speaking, but he knew one thing. He had to remember his clue before the dice stopped rolling. MK Ultra and the making of a myth. The people around Nikko called it MK Ultra, the mind's manipulation through unseen frequencies, a theory that the stars of music and film were puppets of some invisible hand. But Nikko saw it differently. To him, it wasn't mind control, it was story control. The world itself had been ghost-written, and he had been raised by the words of the candy, his voice echoing through headphones and into Nikko's spirit like scripture. The candy wasn't just a rapper. He was the father figure of an invisible age. His rhymes taught survival, his pain reflected the streets, his anger baptized a generation. Through the beat, Nikko learned the rhythm of rebellion. Through the rhyme, he learned how to narrate his own suffering. But the deeper lesson, the dangerous one, was that the storyteller controls the story. And Nikko, somewhere deep inside, decided he would seize the pen. The return of the narrator. When the seahorse stepped into the light, beautiful, chaotic, crowned in plastic divinity, the people worshipped her. They called her the goat, the queen, the saint of screens. They didn't see that she was just another character written to tempt, to test, to tether Nikko's awakening. And when the Rastafarian smiled, pure and distant, it reminded him of the version of the world he'd once believed in before pills, before pain, before the realization that he was living inside someone else's movie. He wanted to reach through the screen to tell her, "We're all just roles in a rerun." But the game didn't allow breaking the fourth wall, not unless you were ready to rewrite the script itself. The gospel, according to the player. Now, as Nikko writes his gospel, his autobiography, his manifesto, his myth, he knows that the line between fantasy and fact is a tightrope made of words. He has learned that the world is not merely lived, it is told. That power is not given, it is narrated. He has been the pawn, the prophet, and the parody. But through all of it, he has come to one final realization, the kind of truth that gets you labeled as insane in a sane world. Why is Nikko exposing his life like this in this book? Because he knows that he is just a character in a story. He just so happens to be the main one. Epilogue, claiming the pen. Observe the cycles, recognize the archetypes, write your own story, that is liberation. Nikko Jacques. The lessons of Nikkoism, Volume 2, converge on one truth. To be aware of the narrative is to have the power to shape it. The world is structured in cycles, numbers, time, myth, and story. Through conscious observation, you can perceive the forces shaping experience, be they authority, culture, or cosmic archetypes. The microphone, the battery, the loser, the candy, the Rastafian, and the seahorse are not merely symbols. They are tools to navigate the currents of power, desire, and chaos. By reading these pages, by witnessing the cosmic ledger, and by seeing your life as a series of chapters, you step into a new role, the author of your own reality. Even the apparent apocalypse, Nibiru Anu, 2012, 666, reveals itself as narrative scaffolding. The story is not predetermined, it is pliable. Your awareness, your choices, and your edits can influence the outcome. In Nikkoism, there is no fear of death, chaos, or shadow. There is only participation in the story, mastery of cycles, and reclamation of the pen. And so, as you close this volume, remember, the universe is a stage, reality is the script, and the author has always been and will always be awake.